Thank you, Stacy. It is great to see you guys, and appreciate Kristen and Stacy inviting me here. Always fun to come. Always more nervous in front of this group than any other group. Moms, busy moms, babies, and colored tables. That's pretty impressive. So again, thanks for having me. I know you guys appreciate this ministry. I know you guys have a lot of things going on. You are extremely busy, and to take this time out just says a lot for you and your commitment to grow and get to know other individuals and do this thing together. So several years ago, a guy named Jim Leckie, man, I feel pretty hot on this thing. So a guy named Jim Leckie invited a bunch of pastors to get together to talk about marriage. And we met, I don't remember, someplace downtown Pittsburgh, and he invited some national guys who did marriage ministry, and we had some great several times regarding talking about marriage. And one of the things we committed from that is there were a group of us, I think there were about 20 of us, and we said what we commit in our churches, we want to make sure that individuals are prepared for marriage. And so we committed to having everyone go through at least 6 weeks of premarital preparation before they could get married. And we still have that at our church. There's a premarital program that we go through. So I was working on my doctorate at the time, and I thought, man, this is an interesting topic. I would love to do something more on marriage and dig into this and have something more to give to the church. If we can keep marriage together, it's a good thing that we can do. And so I went through all the rigmarole in the educational system to get a dissertation approved for marriage enrichment. And I got that done. And then I'm in a class. It's a research class. It's how to do your dissertation, how to do research. And in the class, the guy said, okay, your subject, whatever your subject is, read everything you possibly can on it. Everything you can on it. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm going to be able to read everything on marriage. Just absolutely no way. Now, I know that about 50% of people who do their doctoral work, they don't do their dissertation. They stop right there, all but dissertation. That's a degree in and of itself, right? So I didn't want to do that. So I went up to the guy and said, I don't know that I can read everything on marriage. By the time I read everything, there'd be another 50 books written on it. And he said this, read until you hear echoes. And I said, I don't know what that means. He said, you'll get it when it happens. Read until you hear echoes. So here's my question to you guys. As I read all this stuff on marriage, I came down to about 5 areas. When we do marriage enrichment, we used to do a bunch more areas, but we've narrowed it down to 5 areas, 5 echoes, 5 issues, 5 things that everybody is talking about with marriage. So my question to all of you, and someone just asked, what are those 5 things? Anybody? And don't make it personal, like here's an issue in my marriage, but just generally, finances. All right, finances is huge. We always talk about money, and we'll talk about things in a little bit. I'll tell you about some things that are underneath all of that. But money is huge. What else? Sex? Got to start there, right? Yeah, so another one is sex. Huge issue in marriage. What else? Communication. All right, so you guys, with communication, money, and sex, you just said the 3 main things that blow up marriages. In-laws is number 4, but we won't talk about that. Communication, money, and sex. It's crazy, isn't it? What else? Communication, money, and sex. What else? Yep. Boundaries, all right. Time, boundaries, all kinds of different things, right? Anything else? I'm sorry? Parenting is huge. And parenting is huge in and of itself. And if you don't do some of the other things right, it's even a bigger issue. Okay, what else? Anything? Sorry? Religion. Yeah, that's a huge one, right? Religion. And it's just not Muslim versus Christian or Catholic versus Protestant. It can be within denominations, different doctrinal beliefs within even evangelical denominations. All right? Okay, so the 5 things that I saw and we talk about here are, you guys have already talked about them. I read a lot of stuff with that were Christian books. They were pretty good. The best ones were secular books. They did better research. And so what I found out is for Christians, God's design, that's where it always starts, right? What does God have in mind regarding this relationship? He's the one that ordained it from the very beginning. The second, communication. How do you communicate, and why is communication so important? The third was conflict management. How do you deal with conflicts? And with conflicts, we learned there are 3 huge issues of conflict. One is called events, issues, and hidden issues. So an event is something that just happens. Your husband fixes a great meal for you, his favorite meal to fix at your house, and he can't wait for you to get home, and you're late. You had something come up at work, right? Or traffic or whatever, you're late. So the event is he fixed a meal. The issue is you're late, but the hidden issue becomes, man, you don't care for me. I did all this work and you didn't call. Do you care? And so there are these emotions, right, that we have going on. So sex is the other one, and money is the other one. Those 5 things: communication, conflict, God's design, communication, conflict management, money, and sex. So those are what we focus on. So today, I was asked to focus on communication. Communication. And I would say that it is one of the biggest things of the 5, right? So at your tables, real quick, why is communication the main thing of the 5? What's the big deal about communication? Talk about your colored tables and for just about 3 or 4 minutes, and then we'll come back. Why communication? What's the big deal about communication? What do you talk about that a little more? Everything stems from communication.
So all of the other issues that you're having, conflict resolution, sex, finances, if you're not able to communicate well, you're not able to express your needs, your desires, and listen to their needs and their desires. Communication is not just us sharing, it's hearing what the other person is sharing. If you don't have that communication down, you're not going to be able to address the issues in the other aspects.
All right, communication is critical. Researchers say that if you communicate well, 85% of conflicts never happen. So huge. All right, great. What else? Yep. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second. Personalities. There's this thing called rapport and report. And people have different communication styles. Those are the broad ones. There are a lot of other communication styles. What else? Yep.
We usually have 12 to 15 tabs in our mind, and they have 0 to 1.
That's not stereotypical at all.
People say that. They're just like, I got 0 to 1 of those tabs open in my brain. I've got 12 to 15. Hold them down.
That's not bad. That's not bad. That's true. That's true. There are fewer switches in the man's brain than in the woman's brain. Okay, what else? Yep.
Like intent or interpretation of what's being communicated.
Man, that's critical, isn't it? What are you really saying? You ever said something to someone and you didn't mean it like that at all, but they took it a completely different way, right? That happened to me just yesterday. Okay, what else? Anything else? Okay, let's start working through this. What I want to do is we're going to talk about some theory of communication. We're going to talk about some scripture regarding communication. And then we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you a technique, a communication technique called the speaker-listener technique. And we'll go through that. And I got an example of that on the screen as well. Here we go. All right. Here we go. I know it works because it just worked a minute ago. It's on. My computer go off? There we go. All right. Still trying to get it to go, Laura. Now is it working? No. Go back to the blank screen. And now go. Right there. Okay, communication. A definition of one of the things about communication is technology has to work before it works really well. Communication is the management of messages for the purpose of creating meaning. I love that definition. That comes from a textbook on communication. The management of messages. Just think about that. Just slow down and think about that. Managing messages for the purpose of creating meaning. That takes time, that takes energy, that takes effort, okay? Look at the next one. The management of messages is both the speaker and listener's responsibility. So you could be as clear as day with your communication to me, but if I'm not listening, it's not communication. And you could be the best listener in the entire world, but if I'm not communicating clearly, that's not communication. All right? Communication must be clear and safe. We want to talk about that because there are a lot of times, and we'll see in some things that really mess up communication is I don't feel like it's safe. I can't say what I really want to say. I can't feel like what I need to say because I don't know what's going to happen when I say it. And I did it once and it didn't work out well, and I ain't doing that again. Okay? Communication must be validating and polite. I wanted to read this to you. This is from one of the great researchers, a guy named Gottman, Notorious, Gonser, and Markman. These four guys do tremendous research, or did. And here's what it says. Strange as it may seem, one of the first things that go in intimate relationships is the very courtesy and politeness that we were quite apt to continue to pay to total strangers. Isn't that true? Strange as it may seem, one of the first things to go in intimate relationships is the very courtesy and politeness that we are quite apt to continue to pay to total strangers. And so Lori would say, you would never say that to anybody else. And she's probably right. Literature says that one verbal negative wipes out up to 20 positives. So you're having a great date night, positive, 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 it's great, and then boom, one negative. What happens? It's like the air goes out of the balloon, right? One verbal negative. So validating and polite. Communication is the expression of the heart. If you want to know what a person is feeling, who they are, what they're thinking, you hear what they have to say, right? It's an expression of the heart. We had a guy that worked here many years ago, and he would say things that he just shouldn't say to people he shouldn't say them to. And I confronted him on it, and he said, "Oh, seriously, you got irritated about that?" And I said, "Yeah, here's what they said you said." He said, "Yeah, I said it, but I didn't mean it. Those were throwaway words." Well, there's no such things as throwaway words. Once they're out, you can't get them back. All right? Communication allows people to know each other and to relate to one another and understand true meaning of a person's life. Basically saying the same thing again. All right, next slide. Okay. All right. James chapter 1, verses 19 and 20 is kind of an anchor for, I just heard a word, my daughter had a friend come up and she was looking for some furniture. You guys can tell me if this is a real word or not. She was looking for some furniture, and they went to that Anthropologie outlet in the North Hills. Have you been there? And she said, "I'm looking for a hero piece." Does that make any sense to you? You get a hero piece, and then you build everything around. Anyway, okay, but that was a throwaway illustration right there. This is a hero verse of communication, all right? Hero verse of communication. My dear brothers and sisters, generic, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Isn't it amazing that anger is right there in that? For a man's anger does not bring about the righteous life that God desires. So quick to listen, slow to speak. Let's think about that. Quick to listen. Listen means to make a conscious effort to hear, attend closely so as to hear, pay close attention. Now, when you read those definitions, to me, that sounds like a lot of work, and listening is a lot of work. All right? Let's just go back one, Laura, if you would, and let's just stop right there. At your tables, so we know how important listening is. We already talked about that. What would be some of the things that really mess up listening? All right? You're in communication, you and your spouse, and you're talking. What are going to be some of the things that really put a damper on communication? All right, talk in your tables and we'll come back. Okay, some of the things that mess up listening. Some things that mess up listening. Again, we're not talking personal, we're talking general. Okay? We do this class and we kick it off in person, pre-marriage enrichment, or not a pre-marriage, marriage enrichment class. We kick it off in person. And then we do 5 Zoom calls. We do it 8:30 to 9:30 at night, so you guys can have your kids in bed. And then we do a recommitment ceremony. I'd love for you guys to be involved in that. But when we did the Zoom calls, the first time we did it, we thought, this is cool, man. We have the chat room. We can have people put their questions in there. This is going to be so cool. And then we started seeing the questions, and it's like, my husband, blah, blah, blah. Like the guy sitting right next to you at home. Don't be putting that in there. So we said, okay, no chat room, no chat room. All right, generally, what messes up listening? Technology. Phones. Always on your phone. And it's always an important call. And it's always something you have to take. By the way, just a little coaching tip. Turn your phone on black and white. I did that. You don't want to look at it. Honestly, you don't want to look at it anymore. It's not attractive any longer. For mine, it's just 3 clicks on the thumb. But sometimes you have to go in your settings, but you can turn your phone on black and white. It's amazing. All right. Preoccupation. What else? We'll talk about that in a second. Kids. Kids, for sure. Interrupting all the time. That's going to be an issue, particularly for you guys in this stage of life. What else? Things that need to get done, right? You got busy lives. You're working. You're doing remote work. You're in the office. You got kids. You got all these things going on. Times 2, right? With your husband and wife. And then when your kids get around, 5 or 6, then you got all these activities. And every Saturday's taken up. It's crazy. What else? Listening just to respond. Yeah. Already, so think about that. You're already thinking of the answer, so you're really not even hearing because you're already thinking of the answer. We'll talk about that. All right, let's run through these real quick. First one is preoccupation. You guys have said it. Preoccupation could be the television's on. You're on your computer. You got your cell phone on. You are doing something else. Children, you're tired. You're bored. You don't want to be in the conversation. Preoccupation is a barrier to listening. Here's another one. Another one is the emotional state that you're in. If you're in a good mood, you're going to be a better listener. If you're in a bad mood, you're going to be not as good of a listener, if being a listener at all. And when you're in a bad mood, you guys know this, even a good conversation can turn south when you're in a bad mood, right? Next one, pre-interpretation. This is what you said. I already know what you're going to say. You don't even have to say it. I've already determined what you're going to say, and so I'm already thinking of a response. Pre-interpretation. I am interpreting what you're going to say before you ever say it. Communication personality. Let's think about this one. We all communicate differently. We all have different styles. We all have different ways. And there are 2 big categories for this in research. One is called rapport communication, and one is called report communication. If you like report communication, you like bullet points in your emails, right? If you do rapport, you like little stories and all these things through your emails. When you do text messages, you say, hey, what are you doing today? Well, I'm going to the Children's Museum. Oh, I love the Children's Museum. Have you ever been there before? No, I've never been there before. Well, when you park, be sure to park to the side and get the mobile app so you can do it inside on the parking. That's cool. What do you do when you come here? You go on and on and on and on, right? The best thing to, I don't know, I have, there are people when I know I start texting like, this isn't going to stop. So the emojis are good. This thumbs up emoji, it just means I'm done. I'm finished. I don't care if I like what you say or not. I'm just done with the communication. So communication personality. You got to know how you and your husband do that. Now, there are stereotypes. Stereotypically, women are more rapport, men are more report. But again, that's stereotypical, and in your marriage, it may be the opposite way. All right, shields up. What do you think this means? Last time we had this conversation, it hurt, and I'm not going to go there again. I thought we could talk about it, but the things you said the last time, I don't want to have those emotions again. It made me shut down and not going there again. So my shield's up. So I'm not listening what you say because I don't want to be hurt. The next one. Yes, you did. No, you didn't. Ever had one of those? Lori said, what are you doing today? I said, well, I'm speaking at the Moms Together's group. You didn't tell me that. And I said, well, I think I did, actually. And she said, pretty sure you didn't. I said, no, I think I really did. She said, I'm positive you didn't. And so we went back and forth for way longer than we should have on that, right? When you get to this point, you just have to say, wait, time out. You know what? Maybe I didn't say it. And maybe I didn't hear it. Maybe I was preoccupied. But that's a no-win. You're going to go back and forth on that until one person says, thumbs up, time out, I'm done. Okay, quick to listen. And then the next one, James says, be slow to speak. Be slow to speak. Slow to speak means to utter words in an ordinary voice. Yelling is not speaking. You can't yell at someone. As soon as I start yelling at you, what are you going to do? You're going to put your shields up. I may not ever had a conversation with you before, but if you start yelling at me, I'm putting my shields up. To express communication, opinions, feelings, ideas, dreams, frustration. Just think about that, how powerful that is. Here's what I'm dreaming about. And man, when you have great communication, you can be so vulnerable to say, I can't tell anyone else what I'm dreaming about, but I can tell you because I know you're going to listen and you're going to understand. To make requests or express a reservation. Few verses here, the power of words. I won't go through all of these. Proverbs 10:19. When words are many, sin is not absent, but he who holds his tongue is wise. Proverbs 12:18. Reckless, this is one of my favorites. Reckless words pierce like a sword, but the tongue of the wise brings healings. Man, there are words that hurt, don't they? They pierce like a sword, and you can't undo that. The wound is there. Proverbs 15:1, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. All right? So real quick, when you think about speaking and you think about all the things we've talked about, these verses, get your groups real quick, just a couple minutes. What are some things you should do before you speak? What are some things that could help you in the speaking part, two parts of communication, right? Listening, speaking. But what would be some of the things that would help you in the speaking part of communication? Okay, at your tables, at your color-coded tables real quick, and we'll come. You got things that would help you be a better speaker on that side of the communication spectrum.
Sleep.
So what?
Sleep and make sure you're rested.
Rested.
Rested in the right mental
Right.
state.
So when we go through the whole gamut of the marriage enrichment, one of the things we talk about in conflict management is it's fine to say, I love you. I care for you. I want to hear what you're saying. But right now, I'm exhausted. And this is not going to go well. So let's figure out a time, tomorrow, the next day, or whatever. I want to hear what you're saying. But I'm not going to be listening well right now. So let's figure out a time when we can meet. Personal meetings, we talk about that a lot. Okay, what else? Great point. Yep.
I think depersonalizing, like letting someone's experience be theirs and not personalizing it. I mean, it's hard, I think, when there's emotion involved, but realizing that like they felt how they felt, whether you meant it or not.
We'll get to that. That's a fantastic point. We'll get to that in a second. You can never tell me how I feel. You can't tell me I shouldn't feel that way. All right? So we'll talk about that. What else? Okay, go through these real quick. One, think before you speak. You don't have to say everything that's right on your mind at the time. Disciplined communication is critical. Proverbs 11:12, a man who lacks judgment derides his neighbor, but a man of understanding holds his tongue. Secondly, speak openly, honestly, and lovingly. Proverbs 27:6 says, wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. Wounds from a friend. By the way, I think, you might say I'm wrong, but I think if you have 5 really good friends in your life, you had a pretty rich life. And we just did a podcast with a couple who they had a bunch of friends and went through a really difficult time. And she said, man, one of the most painful things is how quickly friends quit coming around. Again, few friends, but there are a few friends. And prayerfully, it's your husband who can come and say, God, this is something we really need to talk about it. And we have enough trust and love and care that we can do this. Timing is everything. Proverbs 25:20 says, like one who takes away a garment on a cold day, or like vinegar poured on soda, is one who sings songs to a heavy heart. Timing is everything. And that's why you could say, I love you, I care for you. Let's just wait and do this so this thing ends well. All right? Okay. Man, we got to hurry. I'm going to teach you a speaker-listener technique. Now, this is going to be a little weird because there's only one side, right? Your husband's not here. But here's what's called, in all research, you're going to see it at different places, a speaker-listener technique. And in the speaker-listener technique, I'll tell you what the speaker has, I'll tell you what the listener has, and both do together. This is called the floor. You can take those with you. So the speaker always has the floor. Here's the second thing. You're going to share the floor. This is information for both of you. Third, no problem solving. You don't get the problem solving in communication. You're just trying to understand what the problem is. You can't solve something that you don't know what it is. So communicate. No problem solving. One topic at a time. How many of you've started an argument and you just think, how in the heck did we get here? We started like way over there, and now like 15 years ago, you're bringing up something I did. This is not fair. One topic at a time. You can stop the flow at any moment if something is not going right. Okay? All right. Rules for the speaker. Don't go on and on and on. Speak in sentences, maybe 2 sentences, and stop. A small chunk, same thing. Stop and allow the listener to paraphrase. So the listener is going to not parrot, but paraphrase what was just said. Speak for yourself. You're not speaking for anybody else but yourself. And you can pass the floor at any time to the listener to hear their side of the story. Rules for the listener, paraphrase what's saying. You can ask for examples or explanations. I'll send this stuff to you if you guys want it. Do not offer your opinions or interpretations until you get the floor. Concentrate on what the speaker is saying and attempt to edit, that should be edit out internal responses. All right, so I have an example I'm going to show you. This is a great couple, Olivia and Bryce, and we did Living Grounded together, and Laura and I fell in love with them, and so I asked them if they would help me. We're going to be able to we're going to explain the speaker listener technique to them, and then they're going to talk. This is a great couple. They have an issue regarding mowing the grass, and it becomes a big issue. At first, it's like, this is a little trivial, but you'll see it gets a little deeper, and you'll see it gets into some feelings that are interesting to talk about. They're, again, great couple, and there's a part in here that he goes blank. He didn't say anything bad, but we cut it out. It's just technology, and it'll pick up with her, so you'll see that. Okay, here we go. Speaker listener technique. And so you have a house, and you have a lawn, and Bryce, you're pretty particular about the grass. And so you have a pool, right? And so I want you to explain to Olivia how you feel about the grass. You guys hear? Explain to her why you're so passionate about this area.
So first, I think it is important to maintain your lawn or your outside of your house, because your house is your biggest investment. You want to take care of it.
Okay, Olivia, so paraphrase, you're listening, paraphrase what Bryce said.
Well, I characterize it as, you know, the lawn maintenance is very important because we put a lot of time, money, and effort into it.
Okay, yeah, so you're saying the lawn is part of the big investment, right? Okay.
Additionally, I think it reflects on the family that's living inside the house. A well-maintained lawn usually means, you know, you're more put together, in my opinion.
Okay.
You feel that having the lawn look a certain way is important to know how it reflects on us.
Correct. So I like to, you know, do it on a set schedule, you know, usually once a week on the same day, so it doesn't get too long, or, you know, when you cut it, the grass doesn't fall over the place.
And once the grass cut on the same lawn, the same schedule, no matter what. I have other things about on the same schedule, so it doesn't get too long or look unfortunate.
Yep. And then I think having this schedule actually creates more freedom to do other things on those other days, or, you know, just having this time carved out creates more time to do other things that are more fun activities.
Okay, so you think that if we cut the lawn at a certain time every week, it will give us more free time on other days?
Sorry, here's the bad part.
So if we don't cut the grass on a certain time schedule, it makes you anxious.
Yes.
Great, you're pretty passionate.
May I have
Yes.
Okay, now, Olivia, you have, of course, so now you can respond to everything that Bryce has said, and now you're paraphrasing what Olivia is sharing, right?
Okay, so I hear what you're saying about the grass, and I understand that we put a lot into our home and what looks really nice.
Okay, stop there.
You hear what I'm saying about the grass, and you understand how our home is a large investment.
I think that the time schedule that we cut the grass on is not always
You think the time schedule is unrealistic and too structured?
I feel like
You can say, well,
Do you think there?
No, I'm not.
So you can say, I didn't say that, I said.
No, I didn't say that. I said that there are things that are more pressing in day-to-day life and more important that get expressed.
So in day-to-day life, other things come up that are more pressing than cutting grass.
And I'll give you an example. So, for example, I will make my work schedule every week, and I always work 3 12-hour shifts. And people want me to alter my work schedule. I'm sorry. You want me to alter my work schedule based on what the grass should be cut. And I think that
Okay, stop there. Your example is that I asked you to alter your work schedule to meet grass cutting requirements.
what I really say when I say that is that it's a little crazy that I feel it's a little bit crazy that
You feel it's crazy for me to take the long schedule this seriously.
I think that we could maybe relax the schedule a little and make it easier on both of us.
You think that we should? So you're saying we could relax on the schedule and it would be easier for us?
And I'm saying this because what happens most of the time is I need to alter my schedule and your schedule.
You're saying that my structuredness around the lawn cutting makes you alter your schedule doesn't really impact it? Yeah.
Mark, do you want to say anything back?
Do you, can I ask a question? May I say on the floor? Do you think at all that the schedule creates more flexibility on others?
The week, let me back up. When the schedule works out, I do think it will.
So you're saying,
Oh, okay, I started talking wrong. So, you're asking me if I think the schedule does give us more free time later on in the week.
Yes.
Can I respond to him, or do I?
may I have the floor?
Yeah. I do think that on the week, the schedule works out, that you have more free time on the weekend.
May I have the floor?
We have to, you're listening. You're
So you are saying that you agree with me that, you know, this schedule does actually create more freedom on other days of the week, flexibility?
You're hearing me say that I agree with you, that when the schedule.
You're the speaker, and I'll take you to repeat what I said.
I'm wondering how it impacts me, wanting to use the schedule, regardless of the schedule.
You are wondering if I see the impact on your schedule by my grass cutting schedule.
And do you understand the additional stress and burden it puts on me?
You're saying, asking if I see the stress that it puts on you having to conform to myself.
But do you hear what Olivia is saying? This is getting stressful for me. And you're asking me to alter my schedule so we can cut the grass. So how many examples you have like that in your home, right? Speaker listener technique, we'll give you more information on it if you want it. Be happy to work more with you if you'd like that. But I encourage you to use it. Put it on your refrigerator. Here's the deal. When you need to use it the most, you'll want to use it the least. Because when you have something to say, you do not want to slow down and think about your words and then have your husband repeat that, paraphrase it, and actually listen and go through it. When you want to use it the most, when you need to use it the most, you'll want to use it the least. All right? One more thing and then I'm done. One more little technique. I don't have it up there. Just write down XYZ approach to communication. XYZ approach. It goes like this. When you do or don't do X in situation Y, I feel Z. Okay? So instead of you jerk, you always forget Valentine's Day, right? That communicates something. You could say, when you didn't buy me a gift, X, on Valentine's Day, Y, I felt hurt and insignificant in your life. What do you think communicates better? XYZ approach. So you can slow down and just talk about how you feel glad or frustrated or angry or lonely, but this is how I feel, and you can enter into those conversations. All right? If you do communication well, you will knock out about a huge portion of conflict management. And to do conflict well, you got to be able to communicate well. So let me pray real quick, and then I'll get back over to Stacy. Father, thank you for this group. Thank you, for Lord, for the things that you're doing in their lives. They're busy. They've got young kids. They got activities. They have family. They have work. And I pray, Father, that you would help them to slow down and do relationship well. Because, Lord, at the end of the day, I can tell everyone here the kids are going to grow up, activities are going to cease, and they're going to be two people looking at each other. And if we don't do communication well now, they're going to be two strangers looking at each other in some years ahead. So, Lord, do your work for us to do the things that you really called us to do. In Christ's name, amen. Okay, guys, just one last thing. If you ever want anything on this speaker listener, if you'd like to do it with your husband, let us know, and we'll work some things out for you, all right? All right, thank you, guys.
You have a lot going on, so we appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. We had a little game the last time we did marriage in the fall. We played a game, and we were wondering if you'd be a little up first. It will take 1 minute. So we know you said you read a lot.
Okay.
Are you a C.S. Lewis expert?
I'm not an expert. I'm an expert in nothing.
How about Taylor Swift?
Probably more Taylor Swift than...
Really?
No.
Okay, so we have some quotes. We played this game with
Okay.
the whole group, and we're going to see if you know if C.S. Lewis said it or Taylor Swift said it.
Great.
It'll have to do with
I feel pretty vulnerable right
I
now.
know. You know what? I was joking. I was telling this to Dave when we did it. He's like, "Oh, that would be so easy," and then he got a couple wrong. This is how I do.
Okay,
Love anything, and your heart will be wrung and possibly broken.
Taylor Swift.
That's C.S. Lewis. All right. We learned the right steps to different dances.
It's got to be Taylor Swift.
That's Taylor Swift. All right. You have asked whether I have ever been in love. Fool as I am not such a fool as that.
Taylor Swift.
That's C.S. Lewis.
Yeah. I just thought you'd go Taylor Swift, C.S. Lewis. Okay.
Clover blooms in the fields. Spring breaks loose. The time is near.
I don't know. C.S. Lewis.
No. All right.
This is bad.
This is bad. All right. Are you
I think I like Taylor Swift more than C.S. Lewis.
You said that it is a great love, one for the ages, but if the story's over, why am I still writing pages?
Well, that
Come on.
sounds like Taylor Swift.
That is Taylor Swift.
Thank you.
All right, last one.
Thank you.
Someday you will be old enough to start reading fairy tales again.
That has to be C.S. Lewis.
That is C.S.
Correct.
Lewis. All right.
After that embarrassing moment, now I can leave. Right?